Hello, everybody. Welcome to This is MLS. There has been so much soccer over the last few days that we made the executive decision to come to all of you a day early. Welcome on in to the very special Tuesday edition. Julian Sakovitz alongside Bradley Wright-Phillips and Matt Doyle. For all of you watching, do me a favor, like and subscribe to this channel. If you do, you can talk to us. That's incentive enough, I would say. Brad, one question. What is the Milk Cup?
The World Cup's amazing. When you're young, it was basically like the World Cup is teams from all over the world go to Northern Ireland and just play in a competition, a tournament style, and then try and win. And if you win, you get milk poured all over you, and you're crowned the best youth team, around the world. Unbelievable tournament. Now really? I know where you're going.
They pour milk all over you?
Yes.
Is that a bit?
And it's a bit, and I was jealous. It didn't happen to me. I think Dax McCarthy has won the Milk Cup with the United States at youth level, so he got milk poured over him. And
I'm going to have to ask Dax about this on Friday. That is disgusting. That is actually pretty gross, man.
Have you ever tried, Doyle?
I mean, no. I've never actually poured milk all over myself, but do we need to try that to know that it's actually kind of gross, especially after you've been running around for 90 minutes and sweating?
But we're young, so it can't be champagne, can't be beer. It's got to be something.
Could be water. Could be Gatorade.
Yeah, it'd be cleaner.
Yeah.
Come on, Doyle. We gotta keep it kids friendly. Somebody else playing in quite the cup. Oh wait, here's the video before we get into that. Where's that little Bradley Wright-Phillips?
Young Brad, man, hair and everything.
Where's the celebration? Where's the celebration? Come on,
It wasn't invented yet. I was just working on my craft those days, though.
All right.
I was appreciating every goal.
You saw a picture pop up there of our girl, Kaylin Kyle, raising millions of dollars alongside some of the biggest names in the game over at Soccer Aid at Old Trafford. So big applause to our girl, Kaylin Kyle.
Well done, Kay. Legend. Yeah. Well done. It was her fault for one of the goals, though. I did see that. She let Jermaine the first goal. So. But well done on raising the money, Kay. You're a legend. I love you, goodness. Come on, man. You got to defend better.
Did you see Bonucci's reducer in that one?
What a tackle!
I mean, that's commitment to that is commitment to the brand right there.
If you are bred to defend, if you are bred to defend, you do that. It doesn't matter what you see on the pitch, and you go and deal with it. And that's what he done. Hopefully, everyone's okay.
Brad, any chance we get you in Soccer Aid?
I'm trying, man. But do you see the competition in front of me? They got Wayne Rooney up front, Jermaine Defoe. It's tough, man. I'm not going to get in that team, but I would love to.
I mean, compare MLS careers. I think there's a standout among that
I might
group.
Be that one. Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. Maybe Kaylin Kyle could pull some strings and get you in there. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe. I'll talk to her. I'll phone her after this. See what she says.
Very good, very good. Let's talk about MLS, shall we? Because all three MLS teams that are participating in the Club World Cup have played their first game of the group stage. Inter Miami and Egyptian side Al Ahly kicked it all off Saturday night. Awesome scenes at Hard Rock Stadium. The final score, Doyle, 0-0. For Inter Miami and Lionel Messi. Is it a point earned or is it 2 points dropped?
Both. I think because of the way the first half played out, where Al Ahly were just miles better, and Oscar Ustari, who I've been super critical of, I think he's been mostly really bad for Miami this year in goal. He was outstanding. He kept them in that game. First 45, big PK save just before the break. And then, Javier Mascherano, I think, has struggled. He's a rookie head coach, and he hasn't covered himself in glory. But I thought he actually made some good, slight tactical adjustments. Well, first one was a personnel adjustment, just getting Thomas Aviles out of there. That kid cannot play. He is a liability, whether it's MLS regular season, whether it's Club World Cup, whether it's playoffs, enough with him already. So getting him out of there and changing the back line. But the other thing he did was, I thought Messi dropped in a little bit deeper and became more of a midfielder rather than just an attacker. And he helped. When Messi's on the ball, he's not going to lose it. You're not going to take it from him. And I think that just helped give Miami a little bit of rhythm. And once they got that, they were able to get runners in behind. I thought Suarez had a couple of good chances to make something happen. And then the last 10 minutes, when Fafa Picault came on, he was really dangerous stretching the game. They were the better team in the second half. Still almost lost it late with that insane jailbreak that Al Ahly did not turn into even a shot. But still, it was a good 45 minutes from Miami. The game that honestly they should have lost.
I would have liked to see Fafa Pico in a little earlier. You know what I mean? He's dangerous. He can change a game, especially if the game's still in the balance. But I'd say, honestly, I hear what you're saying with points maybe earned and dropped. I think they dropped them. When you look at the group, Porto, Palmeiras, before the tournament, I'm saying Inter Miami have to win this. If they want any chance and then maybe get a draw against one of the two I just mentioned, it's going to be real tough. But you're right, though. They competed. They look good. They could have won it. Could have lost, but I feel like it's going to be really difficult for them.
The big thing, I agree with you. Like, I don't expect them to get out of the group, but the big thing I saw was just some fight. You know, in the past this year, and even I think a little bit in the playoffs last year against Atlanta, like when they've been up against it, they've kind of folded. You know, it happened against the Whitecaps. Once they were up against it, like they just did not have any of that, spirit. Honestly, any of that collectiveness until the game was, in its dying minutes, and it kind of made them easy meat against good teams. And so the fact, like, I'm kind of heartened for Miami for the second half of the MLS season because of what they showed in the second half. So there's that at least.
Yeah.
What do you think the best path forward is, or the most likely path forward is, with the game ahead is Palmeiras, and then after that you've got Porto. It's a tough schedule ahead. Al Ahly is the one game that Inter Miami was hoping to get 3 points out of.
Yeah, I'd say when you're looking at Palmeiras, you're looking to try and get a draw. The thing with that is, Inter Miami are not a team. The personnel to go into games set up for draws, it's just not how they play. Matt spoke about them, not being tough. If they're going to do that, there needs to be certain players on the field. And I mentioned Fafa Pico, if you want to try and play in transition, he can run in behind. He's good, aerially. He could offer set pieces. Ben Harkramasi has to be in that team because he does the dirty work. Yannick Bright, these kind of players, they need to be in that team for them to go out and, grind and maybe get that team a draw in a game that's going to be very difficult for them.
Yeah, the path forward is 180 more minutes and an early exit, I think. I mean, just the talent level on Palmeiras and Porto. Look, man, that game Sunday night in the Meadowlands between those two teams, that was insane. That was such a high-level game between two teams absolutely going for it. Palmeiras were better. They probably should have won that one 1-0. But teams came to win this thing. And I think for any of the MLS teams, it's just such an uphill climb to try to get through the group stage. And when you have a chance to collect points and you don't, it's not a death knell. The ball is round. Anything can happen. But even with Messi on the field, right. But even with him on the field, man, against these two teams playing the way they played on Sunday, it's tough. It's a very narrow path.
Doyle, you said it, like, teams are coming to win this thing. I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that the $1 billion prize pool's got a little something to do with that. But they're giving some of these fans, what they deserve, and the fans that have really showed up. I got to give my win so far to the South American fans in Palmeiras. You mentioned ahead of that, do we have a kitty cat?
We do. I forgot. I was like, right before we went on, I'm like, I forgot to do something before the show.
Girls say hi? No.
Usually I lock Taquito away before we go on. But yeah, look at these Palmeiras fans.
Look at that, man. That's amazing.
Times Square. And look, CONMEBOL teams are unbeaten so far.
That's the Boca Juniors fans too in Miami.
Yeah, and they were great against Benfica. And the fans are turning up. The teams are turning up. This tournament has always meant more to the South American teams than to anybody else because they want to prove themselves against the best Europe has to offer. And so far, all of them are kind of playing like it.
So to recap, Inter Miami has Porto on Thursday, and then they have Brazilian side Palmeiras. You saw those fans in Times Square. They will be making the trip down to Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. So if you didn't see it, check out the Boca scenes last night in Miami. Incredible. They even ended up taking over a Walmart at some point. So you can expect that, I think, from the Palmeiras fans in match day 3 of 3 against Inter Miami. All right, let's move on now to the Seattle Sounders. A very different story, I'd say. They fell short of what would have been an incredible comeback on Sunday against the reigning league and Copa Libertadores champions Botafogo. Seattle outshot Doyle this side 23-12. Is this a loss that feels like a win?
In some ways, yeah. Because they were the better team. And like you said, Botafogo are Copa Libertadores and Brazilian champions. They are spending like nobody else in South America. They essentially have 15 DPs. You know, and like over the past 4 windows, they've bought 3 of the best MLS number 10s. They bought Jefferson Savarino, they bought Thiago Almada, they bought Santi Rodriguez, who was like best 11 caliber for NYCFC last year. He's a squad player on this team. Like, he can't even get into the lineup. So it's just, we're talking about a different level of talent. And the Sounders gave up the cardinal sin is like, you can't give teams like this free goals. And the Sounders gave them 2 free goals in the first half. And then the other cardinal sin is you can't let them off the hook when you get your chances. And the Sounders let them off the hook when they got their chances. But in between, they played some brilliant soccer. Christian Roldan was amazing. Once Reed Baker Whiting came on in the second half, they were able to create those wide overloads the Sounders are so good at. It was really fun to watch, Brad. And it gave me hope for the Sounders in the second half of the season. I just don't have much hope for them getting out of this group because, it's a blender.
Yeah, impressive performance. It really was. And I don't want us to just say, like we're the lesser league and whatever, but it really was impressive. And I think with the Seattle side, with the group they're in, I think that's what I'm taking from it. I wanted to see them measured up against these kind of teams, how they will handle it. And against Botafogo, like you said, they could have won that game. You just have to be more clinical, defend a little better, and they could win that game against a big team. What I will say, I was looking out for individual performances. That performance you mentioned, Roldan having, I was expecting that from, it was unbelievable. And I think the individual performances, seeing certain players, perform against this caliber of opposition is what I was looking out for. I thought Obed Vargas would have had that game that Roldan had, but nevertheless, Christian Roldan, take a bow. You were all over the place, got yourself a goal, almost got another one with the header, looping header. Yep. He was unbelievable. He was everywhere. It was a good performance by them.
And it's not just us, right? Like, he was, like, if you look at all the, like, Foot Mob and SofaScore, all that, they all had him man of the match, like every single rating system. And then Renato Paiva, the manager of Botafogo, after the game, he was like, we couldn't handle Seattle in the second half. Roldan was the best player on the field. He conducted the entire game. It was that kind of performance. And I was jazzed for him. It's just like, damn, man, if they had found that late equalizer, we'd be feeling a lot better.
Yeah, I know, especially we can remind people, the group of death that includes Champions League winners Paris Saint-Germain and Atletico Madrid. Before we move on, the Seattle Sounders, 6th in the Western Conference. I think it's safe to say this is the best that we've seen the Sounders look in 2025. How much is this tournament perhaps a jumping off point? I feel like I've said this before, for the Seattle Sounders come the second half of the season.
It has to be just that, right? Though it has to be. Obviously, they know they're not going to win the tournament. So what positives do you take from the performances from these games, the experience you get from these games? You have to take that into MLS play and continue to climb the league. Now, if they do, it wouldn't surprise me. This is what Seattle do since I've been in this country, in this league. This is just what they do. It gets to the real end of the season, and then the business part of the season, and Seattle start to win games, accumulate points, and slowly climb the league. And I expect no different this season.
It's so funny you say that, Brad, because I'll never forget my first full MLS season was 2016. I started Decision Day 2015, and Seattle parts ways with the late, great Ziggy Schmidt. In comes Obafemi Martins in this Seattle Sounders team, or out goes Obafemi Martins, and in comes Nico Ladero that summer. And I'm like, hey, look at this team that's like sitting at the bottom of the table. And then all of a sudden I find myself at MLS Cup in 2016 and it's the Seattle Sounders. So it's so true about Seattle.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on now to last night, not yesterday afternoon's game, shall I say, of LAFC taking on Chelsea at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. LAFC playing away from home for this entire tournament out on the East Coast due to the nature of last-minute qualification. They got into this thing, the Club World Cup, just 2 weeks ago. Some positives to take. On a scale of 1 to 10, Doyle, what do you score LAFC against Chelsea?
Like a 7. I don't think they really looked overwhelmed. I thought they were really calm, playing from the back. Aaron Long had himself a really good game. I know Eddie Segura got caught with the offside trap on the first Chelsea goal, and that was not a great moment, but otherwise he looked really, really good too. Hugo Lloris had some nice moments. It was just, look, man, in this game, you pay for goals, right? Like you and Chelsea pays more than anybody else. And guys who produce those moments of magic, they end up at the biggest teams. And you could see LAFC relative to what Chelsea had out there just lacked that. And, Denny Bouanga had himself got into a good spots a couple of times and would probably want one or two of those back. And David Martinez, I thought, was a little too selfish at times, but showed some good stuff. But like that final third quality, that's the differentiator when you come to tournaments like this. And Chelsea had it, especially when Rory Delap came on. I thought he was fantastic. Yeah. But it's the same story.
Liam, his dad Rory.
Liam, sorry. I'm showing my age.
Like me. You're old school like me. Yeah. No, Doyle, I'll make you right. I think Steve Cherundolo would have went into this game and said, it's going to be tough. We're going to have to be organized, defend well. But when we get our opportunities, we have to take them. And I thought for most parts of the game, that game plan worked. The difference is, and I've been asking myself for years, what is the difference between the Prem, MLS? It's those moments. It's Pedro Neto going through, cutting back and being clinical. Denny Bouanga had chances to where he should be doing a lot better, finding the far corner. He doesn't. Martinez comes on, look bright, makes an opportunity for himself, off the right foot, not a great finish. The top teams don't do that. For large parts of this game, LAFC were hanging in there. The game plan was working. They just didn't have that final bit of quality that these top teams have. And I think that was the story of that game.
For sure. I think Denny Bouanga on the day is used to having a chance or two. That's not going to happen when you are going up against a Chelsea side. Let me ask you this. My favorite moment, I said that the South American fans have won the Club World Cup for me, but that's actually not true now that I sit here and think about it.
Two favorite moments.
It's actually Olivier Giroud just standing at the touchline for 10 minutes at halftime. Stop it, Bradley. Brad, have you ever not had your jersey when you're being subbed in? Quick.
No, but I have a story. I remember when I was first breaking in at Man City, I didn't make the squad one of these games, and Joey Barton was making one of his first starts. And Kevin Keegan calls him, says, "Listen, you're going on." He didn't have his shirt. He was out the first team for maybe a month or so. He didn't get another chance for ages. So I always have my shirt with me if I'm on the bench. I'm not letting that go anywhere far because of moments like that. It can't happen.
It was iconic. And then goalkeeper David Ochoa bringing his jersey out to him. And I loved, so many Blazers tweeted out the moment, which we all saw. But I don't know who this person is, but at Jesse JPH saying, Olivier Giroud forgetting his shirt. So having to stand topless on the sidelines for several minutes seems like the smartest marketing FIFA have done yet. Who spent $50 million to market for this tournament?
I love that too.
He gets a figure, doesn't he?
I think from a storyline perspective, Olivier Giroud going up against his former side in Chelsea comes on in the second half, unable to find the net, which would have been great for the headlines. But I'd say Olivier Giroud looked pretty good in that second half. What'd you make of his performance?
I thought
go ahead. No, you go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I thought he was okay. I thought it was a story written for him. Obviously coming on against his former side. The season hasn't been great for him. Maybe he comes on and gets an equalizer or a winner. It wasn't to be, but yeah, some of his link-up play was good. I think the sub made sense over this season. Jeremy Abobasi's been way better than Giroud. But I thought in that game yesterday,
he struggled.
Yeah, obviously he let himself down. He let himself down. His normal link-up play, hold-up play wasn't there. And I think LAFC needed that in a game where they're under a lot of pressure. So it was right to bring on Giroud. He just didn't have that impact in front of goal.
He struggles in the transition play that LAFC are mostly committed to. It was an awkward fit from the jump when he arrived, and it stayed an awkward fit. It would have been really a nice story if he had found that goal, and especially against his former team, as you guys said. But I think the story is just about written for his time with LAFC. It was just awkward from the jump, and the question is going forward from this is does LAFC feel compelled to go out and get more players like Giroud or Bale, guys who have these big names but are at the end of their career and maybe aren't going to give you all that much? And I kind of suspect they are, right? If you're watching this type of tournament, I'm more interested in the 24-year-old Brazilian striker than I am in the 36-year-old European legend. And like, can MLS owners, MLS teams sit down at that table and play that hand of poker and come away with that player, and then you have somebody to build around for like 6-7 years, maybe even more. You know, it's kind of like the Nico Ladero gambit that the Sounders made 2016, almost a decade ago, and we saw what that led to for them.
Yeah, and when you're going with those older guys, you got to be careful. The buy-in for a legend, you know, of the game from Europe, the buy-in has to be there. You got to get the right one. I always refer to David Villa. And to your point, though, I think they have bought some good young players. Igor Jesus, I highlighted him as one of the players that's going to be. He was good yesterday. I thought so. You know, when he won the ball back, which I expected him to do, he could have been a bit cleaner with his decisions and moved the ball a bit quicker. But in terms of covering ground and being a presence, Igor Jesus I thought he was quality. And then Martinez. So I think they are thinking about going younger. And to your point, they should do, Doyle.
Yeah, that's the long-term solution for LAFC. And to their credit, they did, Doyle, try to make a short-term solution for their attack in Javier Del Rosen, who hasn't been able to get into the country for visa issues coming from Liga MX. He signed to a 6-week contract with the potential to make it a permanent deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk about visa issues right now.
Let's move on to something less controversial, shall we? What about for those who like to be loud on the internet and make digs at U.S. soccer culture and make digs at soccer in this country? People liked to point out one game with less than ideal attendance, and it was that one. It was LAFC and Chelsea at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on a Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And I think context is important here. NFL Stadia, in this case an MLS Stadia as well, in Mercedes-Benz Stadium is awesome. It's great optics. However, it holds 73,000 people. 22,000 was the reported number at yesterday's game. So you put that game inside PayPal Park, where the U.S. men's national team played their first game of the Gold Cup, and it's a total sellout. So then you see 60,000 plus at Hard Rock Stadium, including P.S. Javier Mascherano cheering on Boca Juniors. What do you say to the people who are trying to make the parallels right now between the Club World Cup and the World Cup?
I don't say anything to them. Yeah, I don't really care what those people have to say.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, you listen to Jill, like it was a Monday at 3 p.m. for two teams that,
listen to Jill.
You know, like that. I can't imagine anyone taking those comments particularly seriously. When you look at, like, American soccer is also, 55,000 fans selling out in Miami and putting 60,000 people in the Meadowlands and 40,000 people in, like, it's silly, and it comes from this long held inferiority complex that we have here about our game, and we got to freaking get over it, and like, just don't listen to that because it's not in good faith.
Yeah, those people are always going to complain, right? They're always going to complain. And Jill, you said the numbers, that's good attendance. It was just the wrong stadium choice. That's it. It's good numbers going to a game where a team in LAFC and not being able to play at home just found out they're going to be in the tournament. 22,000. Come on, man. Give me a break.
Fans. It's been incredible because there's people from all over the world that live in this country. And also, I always think to myself, what does my grandma or my mom know about? They know about the World Cup, and no disrespect to the Club World Cup. They don't know about it yet, but that's why we're here, right? All right, let's move on to the U.S. men's national team.
Is your grandma watching? Is that what you're implying right there?
Give her a shout out.
Who do you think Maisel the drummer is? All right, in the Gold Cup, let's talk about the MLS players, and I want to talk about the striker position with Patrick Agyemang. We see him get the start, get the nod, Brad, to the striker spot. How much of this do you think for Mauricio Pochettino is it on the fence that it's between Agyemang and Haji Wright, who we saw come on in the second half?
I think everything. I think in a tournament, the one before the World Cup, if I'm one of those strikers, I would understand and know that whatever job I'm doing in this tournament is maybe going to get me in that World Cup squad and maybe a starting spot. So I think both players will be going out like that. Pochettino will be watching. Right now, it looks like it's Agyemang's spot to lose with his performance. against Trinidad and Tobago. Also, Brian White not doing himself any favors against Switzerland. So it seemed like, that was almost handed to him from that performance. I didn't think Adjiman was clean in front of goal, as clean as I've seen him. He still needs to brush up, because when they're playing against, stronger teams, you're not getting that many chances and you're going to have to put one away. Even the goal he gets, it's basically Diego Luna's. And I'm a number 9 that love my tapping, so I'll take it. And Adjiman, well done. But Haji Wright, come on, showed some life. It's a nice goal. So yeah, it's up for grabs, but it's very important what these two players do in this tournament.
I thought Adjiman set the tone physically. And I think that's something that the U.S. has been lacking for like 18 months now is they've been playing soft. They've been getting kind of manhandled and just put up against it almost immediately. And Adjiman, like Brad said, he was not clean. It's not just in front of goal, like some of his link play. It was not the beautiful. It wasn't Didier Drogba out there, but like what he was doing physically to the Trinidad and Tobago center backs, that created the space that Luna and Tillman and McGlynn needed to, I think, make some pretty attractive soccer happen. And also, look, man, Adjiman's pressing leads to, it was Adjiman and Tillman in conjunction, but the two of them together, that led to the turnover that led to the first goal. And like that matters too. And when you look at it, like this is just building off the performance we saw from him against Canada in the third place game in Nations League, because he was one of the few U.S. players who really matched Canada's intensity in that game as well. And I think Pochettino's at the point with this group where it's like, we got to win the street fight first. Like, we don't have enough talent out here to just say, we're going to beat you by playing soccer.
And that's why Adjiman has the advantage, because you have to look at these players if they're not scoring a goal. Yeah. If the game, if they're not getting chances, how are they helping the team? And Adjiman, on his day, with his attributes, is a striker you do not want to see. You don't want to play against him. So that's why I will give him an advantage, but he has to clean up in front of goal. He has to, especially going into tournament football.
And that's the thing. Like, Haji Wright was a guy who scored for fun this past year in the championship, and he came on and he showed his quality as well. But if I'm Pochettino, I'm not taking from that, we got to get him into the starting lineup. I'm taking from that, like, after an hour of having to deal with Pat Adjiman, having to deal with Haji Wright is something that opposing center backs are not going to want for the final 30 minutes. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out these next two games. I know that Saudi Arabia aren't full strength, but they're traditionally a pretty good team. Should be a pretty good test. I want to see what these guys can do as it kind of steps up.
So if you're Poch, are you going Adjiman again against Saudi Arabia and then waiting to see for that final game against Haiti?
Yeah, you get through the group first. You guarantee, you guarantee getting out of the group, and then after you can think about maybe putting some players in and resting legs. But for now, you go with your strongest. And if he sees Adjiman as his strongest, he's got to start. And
I also think it's a 5-0 win. You don't change after a 5-0 win, right? Like you want to reestablish that culture that everybody is earning their place, and you earn your place by being part of a team that goes out and takes care of business in the way that the U.S. did. And that was, it's just Trinidad and Tobago, but we can't say it's just Trinidad and Tobago.
Well,
with the way they use
they've been good historically. They've been decent. They obviously beat you guys, in that famous game that is still spoke about, but they have to win that. That's
absolutely. But what I'm saying is, like, over the past 3 years, the U.S. have not consistently looked like that against teams at Trinidad and Tobago's level. So, like, if the guys go out and they make a statement as a coach, you have to have your ears open and listen to that and reward the guys who are putting out that much effort and getting the results from it.
Yeah.
A lot of soccer fans, too, that hear Saudi Arabia ahead think of the famous, or should I say infamous as well, Saudi team that beat Argentina and Messi in the group stage of the 2022 World Cup. This is not that Saudi Arabia. They're missing a number of players, like a lot of teams, to the Club World Cup. But is it safe to say that Saudi Arabia and Haiti on the day are probably going to pose tougher competition than Trinidad and Tobago?
I would think so. I haven't seen a Trinidad team that bad in a minute. So I would think so. And what I know about Saudi from that World Cup is, maybe they don't have the strongest players. They had a nice style of play where everybody was bought in. They play a lovely style of football. It will be challenging for the US, but again, go and win those games. Haiti, again, got some good players. but go and win that game. I don't want to hear any excuse. I don't want to be back on This Is MLS talking about they lost and it was because of this reason. They have to win those games.
Brad, you make the rules. You don't want to talk about Christian Pulisic anymore. We're not talking about him on this
I'm
show.
done with Christian.
We're not going to talk about that. But what I do want to talk a little bit about is the U.S. men's national team midfield. We got a chance, Doyle, to see a little bit of a new look midfield due to an late injury to Tyler Adams and illness with Johnny Cardozo. What did you think of it?
They got the job done. The fact that it was that three line of Luna, Tillman, and McGlynn, like three guys who could all pass the ball, that was fun. And then, Seb Berhalter playing deep, but like sort of releasing forward, and same with Luca De La Torre. They moved the ball really well. They did enough to cover defensively because neither Berhalter nor De La Torre is a real ball winner, like a traditional number 6 in the way that, Tyler Adams is or Christian Roldan was against Botafogo. But I think a positive data point because they were able to just go immediately at the weaknesses of Trinidad and Tobago. And look, you can only play the team in front of you. And there are weaknesses there to exploit. Okay, let's exploit them. Let's win 5-0. Job done.
Doyle, can I ask you a question? Game 1,
Go.
World Cup 2026. Who starts in that midfield for the US?
I'll still be surprised if it's not Tyler and Wes. I just think that Tyler is...
Tyler, for me, has got to be in there.
He's maybe the first name on the team sheet if everybody's healthy, because what he does, not just in winning the ball, but in preventing opposing transition opportunities, he's world class at that. And I think the U.S., if they're going to play on the front foot, which I think they want to, you leave yourself vulnerable in transition when you're doing that. You need someone who's a heat-seeking missile out there as the 6. And at the 8, I just think Wes, at his best, is a better player than anybody else in the pool at that. And I like Luca De La Torre a lot.
Me too. Is there space for Aiden Morris? Is he in the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Aiden Morris should have been here. I thought he should have been on the team this summer because he's I like him better than Johnny Cardoso. Yeah. Aiden Morris has actually shown something in the U.S. shirt. Johnny Cardoso never has. So I definitely think that there's room for him, and I hope that he plays his way into the mix because I want a guy like that, a guy who's a ball winner and a transition stopper. I want him on the field every single minute that the U.S. are playing at the World Cup.
I've played with both Aiden and Tyler, and when I think about the U.S., I'm thinking about games where they're not going to see the ball much, and you need players that can do both. And I think Aiden, Tyler, just against the ball, they can run all day. They're not afraid to tackle, and then they got ideas with the ball. It just makes sense that they should be in there somewhere, But yeah, that's just me, little old Englishman.
I mean, the real question is, all right, Johnny Cardoso gets healthy, gets over his sickness, he gets back in. If he struggles again, does it matter if he gets a $20 million move to Atletico Madrid? If he's had 3 years of not showing anything in the U.S. shirt, and Pochettino, to his credit, said, "Okay, Josh Sargent, you were awesome in the championship this year, but you're not part of the answer for this group right now. You've played yourself out of the picture." And I do kind of wonder if that's what we're going to see one way or the other with Johnny in these coming games.
Yeah.
One more before we move on to Canada, who debuts in the Gold Cup tonight. I want to talk about them. First off, apologies. One of my lights that is from the COVID era, I think finally blew its last bulb. So rest in peace. I just look like I'm in another time zone, but I'm not. I'm right
nice
here.
Little mood there.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm here on the East Coast with you guys. Doyle, I know you got one more person you want to give their flowers to in who won on Sunday from an individual standpoint.
It was Alex Freeman. Because if you've been watching MLS all year, you know that this kid is an attacking force going forward from right back to the point where Oscar Pereira actually changed the way Orlando City play, right? He was always overlapping fullbacks on both sides, and he changed it so that only Freeman overlaps from the right side. He goes forward more than any other fullback in the league. The left back is only a center back. It's a very specific role. It is barely a defender. You cannot call him functionally a defender in MLS. But in this game, Poch had him actually sliding inside to make a back three when the U.S. were in possession, like a much more conservative, almost a center back role. And then at times he was also pinching in, like when De La Torre would release forward, then Freeman would step up a line and become a secondary D-mid. Like, this is really complex stuff. This is stuff that I don't think comes natural to a lot of players, especially attackers. Like, Jordi Alba struggles with it. He's 36 and is like world class. It just asked so much more of him than I thought he was going to be able to do, because he's a 20-year-old in his first season as a starter. Brad, he was awesome.
Very impressive. Doro, what you're saying is, what can't he do? And that's what I've seen all season. Yeah, you know, you see, I thought he was just power, pace and power. I'm not going to lie to you. That's what I thought in the beginning. I've coached against him at MLS Next Pro. I said, no, he's just bigger than everyone. But when I'm watching his game, his ability to pass the ball, his ability to get into the box, score goals. You said in this game, defending, tucking in, playing different positions. He can go anywhere. I said it a few weeks ago on one of these shows. He can play in any league.
Yeah, sophistication from him on the day. And again, it's just like, it's just Trinidad and Tobago, but you like, if you have the brain to be a problem solver in every phase of play, and that's what we saw from Alex Freeman, like, I will be surprised if this kid's not on the roster next year.
No, he has to be. He better be. I'll phone Poch myself and get in a big argument.
Good. And I'll make it a group call, because I'll jump in with you and let him know. Because, like, if you compare this to like what Joe Scally has shown in his numerous chances, and it's night and day.
It's not clear. It's not close.
I'm right there with you, Brad. An important note is 9 of 11's starters on Sunday did feature from MLS. All right, get into the chat. Let us know what you think. Be sure to like and subscribe to our MLS YouTube channel. That way you can hang out with us and chat. We're taking your questions and logging them here. So when we've got a little bit of time as the show goes on, we will get to them. Let's transition now to Canada. Jesse Marsch's side, searching for their first trophy since they last won the Gold Cup in 2000. It all kicks off tonight in a match against Honduras, ranked 75th in the FIFA World Rankings. Now, if you look at the Vegas odds, they've still got the U.S. and Mexico ahead of Canada. Doyle, where is Canada for you? Considering that this is without Alphonso Davies, this is their A squad.
Yeah, I think this is one they got to win, right? Like, if Canada's going to take a step forward, this is the tournament to do it, because so many of the U.S. best players are missing, and so many of Mexico's best players are missing. But also, Canada's at that level already anyway. They showed it in the Nations League. They just got unlucky in the semifinal against Mexico. Then they beat the U.S., right? Like, they already have that scalp, and now it's just about coming out of this atop the podium with a trophy to show for it. It feels like it's been building to this for the past 5 years, and they have the talent to do it, man. Like, there's virtually no difference in quality between the top Canadian team and the top American and the top Mexican side.
Yeah, I agree. I know Jesse. You know, I mean, worked with Jesse for years, and with the squad he's got, with how they've been playing under him, I know he's going in. But making those guys believe they're going to win this tournament, they're going to be, if you're winning the Gold Cup, you're beating Canada.
From somebody who's played for Jesse Marsch, Brad, I'd love to know, because from the outside point of view, and I covered Jesse when he coached here in MLS, he's so charismatic. He has such a way with words. Take me inside the dressing room ahead of this game. What is Jesse Marsch saying or not saying?
Jesse's a smart man. And I think, having a team like Canada, it suits him so well, because Jesse loves an underdog. He loves when players or teams or whatever's been, when you've been written off. He done that with our New York Red Bull team. He made us believe that everybody else in the league hates us. They don't think we're good. They hate the style of football. They don't give us our credit.
That was all true. He didn't make you guys believe that. He was just telling the truth.
So that's what he would do. So you would go out on the pitch trying to prove the world, wrong for 90 minutes. And I think that's what you're seeing from this Canada side. But he's got a real good way of getting the best out of players.
And he's been such a troll to U.S. soccer the whole time. You're like, none of the Canadian players has to skip.
Yeah, everyone's in.
They don't want to be here. It's so good. Like, after that level of talk, like, they have to make it happen. It's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know if the revenge tour for Jesse Marsch is ever going to end, and I am so here for it. His quote of the week for me is, "No more Mr. Nice Guy, Canada." All right,
He's
Jesse.
just winding up the net. He knows what he's doing.
Love it. I'm so here for it. Let's move into MLS, shall we? We have a little bit of a break, but there's a race that is heating up when MLS play returns. And it is, Matt Doyle, you are going to get so mad, but it is the Supporter Shield race, okay?
No, it's real now. It's real.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, because I know that Vancouver Whitecaps, they still have a game in hand, but they are officially behind the Philadelphia Union, who are leading on 37 points. They are your new Supporter Shield leaders. With the schedule ahead, with players missing, Vancouver has 4 players missing for the Gold Cup. Doyle, how much of an inside track now is there now for Philly to start to run away with this thing?
I don't think they'll run away with it because they're missing a couple of players as well, and they haven't shown the ability to beat the top teams yet. And if you look at their schedule coming up, I think their next 3 are on the road, and the last 2 of those are against Columbus and Nashville. Nashville, by the way, 11 unbeaten. They're officially one of the top teams. So Philly have some stuff they need to prove, but Vancouver's going straight into the blender right now. They have San Diego at home, and then they have 5 straight on the road. If they're gonna lose the Shield, this is the stretch. Yeah, this is the stretch where it's going to happen.
I worry for them. I think it's obvious my little bit of love I have for Vancouver. I enjoy what they do. I have done for a few years. But when you look at this month's stretch, Doyle, it's going to be tough. And you give Philly the advantage because they're one of those teams that, while they're a very good MLS team, they don't have a bunch of players that go on international duty. And in a stretch like this, in international window, this is where you can build up those points. This is where you can essentially win a Shield. I've been on teams that, have done that a couple of times. So I just give them the advantage, and it sucks for Vancouver that they're in this way now with injuries and international call-ups.
Yeah. The chat is also calling for San Diego, rightfully so. When you look at these Supporter Shield standings, it's a little scary. San Diego FC kind of coming up the standings, Doyle, now just 2 points behind the Vancouver Whitecaps. What do you think we see from them in the second half of the season?
I mean, it's hard to predict anything except continued improvement, given the way that they've developed their young players. They've adjusted their style of play a little bit. Like, there was a time in April, I think they lost 3 straight and were giving up goals. And it seemed like teams had figured them out a little bit. And Mikey Veras, to his credit, was able to immediately sort of regain the upper hand by adjusting pressing triggers and adjusting how wide they were defending when they were playing against the ball. And they're almost unbeatable since then. And we saw against a really good Minnesota team last week, 4-2. And they did it their own way, right? They were able to pin Minnesota back and break them down with the ball. Obviously, they had a goal in that one that we'll talk about a little bit later. But it's just been endlessly impressive. And 2 things: they've done a lot of it without Chucky Lozano, right? So they're not dependent on the one guy. And the other thing is they have an open DP slot. They can go out.
That's scary.
Yeah.
And right, we're a month away from the transfer window opening again, and this ownership group has shown real ambition to add not just good pieces, but the right pieces. And I think when you're playing this well, you have the luxury to be picky a little bit and make sure that the piece you're getting is the one that sort of completes the puzzle. I'm really bullish on this team based upon what we've seen.
You weren't surprised if they won the Shield? Sorry, Joe.
No, that's what I was going to take it a step lower than that and say, are you even bullish to say, are they a possible St. Louis City in the making of winning the West in their inaugural season?
I mean, it's almost disrespectful to San Diego.
I know, I couldn't even utter the words. But I tried.
Because St. Louis just rode luck for the first half of the season.
No, they ruffled
historic luck.
They ruffled feathers. They made it difficult for teams.
They had a historic amount of luck, and they immediately tore down their team in year 2. They tore down their team, and they fired their coach in year 2, which is how it was not sustainable. What I'm seeing from San Diego is completely sustainable. And given what Vancouver are facing now, and given the rest of the West, I kind of feel like San Diego, I'm not going to say have the inside track, but I wouldn't be at all shocked if they won the West. And with that, maybe they win the Shield too.
And they're doing it with no pressure. It's no pressure on them.
Yeah.
To play later on in the season.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn around and put it to you guys. Who's gonna win the Shield? This isn't scripted. Come on. You have to make a choice, both of you.
So last week,
wait, I'm gonna do it.
We ended up making. I'll buy you time for a second, Brad, because I'm just going to spew my BS, for lack of a better word, that I spewed last week when somebody asked us where MLS Cup would be. I said San Diego.
You did.
I did.
You did.
So I'm going to stick with San Diego because sure, things could happen. Shield winners could get bounced out. Oh, we saw it last year. But I'll say San Diego then.
Wait,
an
Cup
official
or Shield?
prediction. Shield.
Huh?
Shield.
It's tough, man. I said Vancouver, so I don't want to stray away from it. I'm going to stay with you, Vancouver.
Yeah.
You are
Just
loyal,
get through this
Brad.
stretch.
You really are. I have to say.
I said about 10 teams this
you
year.
were talking about Vancouver. Don't admit that. Brad, you've been saying now for 3 years. You never admit that. You say, I said it. I said it back in March.
I'm like that, man. Gotta be honest.
All right. Speaking of San Diego, there was a little bit of a fantastic goal we saw this past weekend. So I want to dive into that. And we are officially at the midway point of the MLS season. So I want to hand out one award, and that would be the Puskas Award. That is the annual award that is given to the most aesthetically pleasing goal in the world in the men's game. So we're going to do our own little MLS version. And I think we can all agree at this point, it's drier from the halfway line. I mean, just an absolute thing of beauty.
It just makes me smile. Look at that finish, man. What is he doing back there anyway? He had it planned. He obviously seen the keeper taking liberties, throughout the game. He's gone back to the halfway line. It sits up on him a bit, but then to execute with a half volley, it was beautiful to watch.
You know who's brilliant at this was Lucas Zelarayan for the Crew for a couple of years. I think he had a couple of those, and he would do the same thing, right? He would drop deep because he would see that the goalkeeper was playing high off his line, and he would look for those touches. I think we'd try like 4 or 5 of those a year. It's a great goal. That is a great goal. That is not my pick for goal of the season thus far, though.
But this is our top 3, right? Aren't we agreeing to that?
Yeah, I like that.
All right,
number 1.
Okay,
right
top 3.
Okay,
absolutely.
sorry. I put words in Doyle's mouth. All right, so then Doyle, give us another one. St. Louis, or against St. Louis, I should say.
Are we talking about
Anthony?
Anthony?
Okay.
Yeah, the Anthony
That's
goal.
Brad's pick, yeah.
That's
Anthony. That goal is just, obviously when you see goals that you just know you can't execute. Like Dryer on my day, I think I can execute that with the techniques. This here by Anthony, I'm not doing this. Maybe the finish once I get 5 or 6 yards out. But to do that flick and then drive down the defender and then find the far top corner, it's unbelievable, man. It's something that you only really see Brazilians doing. You know what I mean? That's a great goal, Doyle.
No, it's fantastic. Starting with the flick, his ability to eliminate his man and then at pace, he took all that space, everything the defense was given to him, and then bending that home like that. Like, that's a Neymar goal. That is, you mentioned Brazilians. That goal is absolutely sick. And it's crucial that Anthony's playing like this. Yeah. Because last year, if you looked at Portland's success, it was built upon the production from the DPs, and they have been without Jonathan Rodriguez basically all year. When he was playing hurt. Now, season-ending surgery, he's done. Yeah. They have needed Anthony to be a difference maker. He has been, and that is a worthy inclusion into the top 3.
Yeah.
So we agreed on our 2, Doyle. Whether you like it or not, we decided we were going to agree on 2, and that you guys were going to duke it out over the final one to get into our top 3 for our midseason Puskas Award here in MLS. So Brad, only because the people are calling for it, a little prophetic here from Vamos United 22. Bradley Wright Phillips, give me your winner, please.
I'm going with Anthony's teammate, Santi Moreno. Jill, you're going to love this. Santi Moreno, for a lot of reasons. Listen, this nice build-up play by Portland, a great ball in, and then what Santi Moreno does, flicks the ball up to himself, bicycle kick in the box on Mother's Day, Jill. Not only is it Mother's Day, he runs into the fans. His mum's there, gives her a hug. The celebration was amazing. The goal was a joke, showed everything, ability, audacity, execution. I think Santi Moreno's goal for Portland against SKC was a top draw. You're not just pulling that out of the bag every week.
Beautifully said, beautifully said, Brad. Doyle, what do you got?
Pedro Vite. And it's less about the finish itself, which is, just kind of a tap in, and more about the build up that came before it, because his ability, like it's a Whitecaps team goal against Minnesota from back in, I want to say late April. And it's 6 passes in a row in the final third that completely undresses a Minnesota backline that is, as they always are, defending in the goalkeeper's lap. That to me is what like the best version of soccer is. Like, you could score your bangers, you could do your 1v1 stuff, but when you have 6-7 attackers working as one to completely eliminate the back line and give a midfielder bursting out, a tap in, like, that's what the game looks like at its best. That's my choice for best goal of the year.
I did like that goal. It was a great team goal. It's not better than Moreno's, but it was a great team goal.
And I think this is a fair third one to throw in here. Jennifer Garcia saying, I'd say Denke's bicycle kick was better.
Denke's bicycle kick was good, but Jennifer, it came off of his shin, and I have to deduct points for that. While I would still take that goal, and I wish I could score a goal like that, it came off his shin. I remember Wayne Rooney had one years ago for Man United against Man City, and it was beautiful, but when he goes to sleep at night, he knows that came off my shin and I didn't get the execution I wanted. Jacob Morel, I'm seeing in the chat, Vamos United, you're spamming Jacob Morel. That was a great one. Here's Denke's one now. Please look closely. It's lovely. And I think that's probably better than Morel's. I think Morel's made it good because it was last minute. It was dramatic, but that execution is nice. But no,
Don't
shin.
you?
Shin, Jill.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Shin. Oh, I didn't know the shin takes away so many points. I thought the acrobatics get you like 9 out of 10.
Unbelievable. I shouldn't be talking about bicycle. I used to score the ones that I'm basically sitting down on the ground. I celebrated like I scored the one Denke did. But I'm telling you, when I went to bed that night, I knew it wasn't one of those ones that was perfectly, executed. And that's just it.
Jill, when you've scored 100 MLS goals, you get to judge. That's just the rule. That's what it is.
Brad, I'm just surprised you've been on TV now 3 years and you're still just too honest. You're way too honest.
Don't tell the truth.
I know, you're the best.
My goals still count. They still count, no matter how ugly they were.
They're all beautiful, Brad. All beautiful.
Yeah, everyone. Because Vamos United 22 has written Morel 7,000 times, we're going to show his goal right now.
It's brilliant. It's dramatic. It's late. But
it's luck.
It's luck. It's luck. Right? He's not really off the. He's still got one leg down. That's a Bradsicle. That's the ones I used to score.
Bradsicle.
That's a Bradsicle. I can't give you that, Jacob Morel. I think the dramatics were unbelievable, but that's not even better than Denke's for me.
All right, that's fair enough.
Santi Moreno, go and look at that goal. Flicks it up to himself. Same movement, bicycle kick, unbelievable. On Mother's Day, Jill. So you know who to pick.
Here's the Pedro Vite one. We only got the last couple of passes, but
that was a great goal.
6 more in front of that. Like, it's just what I love about it is it encapsulates who the Whitecaps are as a team, and like that is a thing that matters most. I think that's the defining thing of the first half of the year. I just hope we get more of that from them for the rest of the season.
So I'm supposed to vote on which one of you wins for your best mid-season Puskas Award, and only because of Brad's passion that it happened on Mother's Day am I giving the mid-season Puskas Award to Bradley Wright Phillips. But have no fear for all of you that are upset. We will do our end-of-year season awards, and that's when this all really matters come October. I don't know how much it matters on June 17th.
That's why I put Mother's Day in there. I knew it could sway you. I knew Doyle would have a good goal in there.
Now, Doyle, if you did it while holding my cat over there that you got, you would have been the clear winner. And by the way, the chat, Doyle.
They want to see the cat.
Yeah. Why did you guys move on to the South American fans in droves?
Taquito.
When I just wanted to talk about Taquito.
He's disappeared. I kind of think my wife must have locked him in the bedroom to keep him off the camera. Because.
You got whoever UB is wanted to know, is that cat named Sasha? We know no, it's Taquito. And 2 more show the cat. So there you got some cat stands in here, Doyle.
I'll be on the show on Friday. Maybe I'll leave him out for the whole time. Yeah.
I don't know about tech in our incredible control room, but I would appreciate that. I would appreciate that.
See that.
That very much. All right, before we take the comments, there was a little bit of an unveiling this week, and it is that while we do not have the MLS All-Stars yet, we do have the list of names that will be going up against the MLS All-Stars in Austin, Texas next month at the MLS All-Star Game. Doyle, What excited you the most when you took a look at that Liga MX roster?
I mean, I was just happy to see Toluca get rewarded for their ambition and for their title. For those who don't know, Toluca beat Club America in the Liguilla to raise a trophy. I think it was their first trophy in about 15 years, and it ended Club America's streak of 3 straight titles, which nobody had done before since the move to the shortened season. And you can see Paulinho, first of all, Jesus Gallardo, the legend, but then Paulinho, who they bought from Porto a couple of years ago, like that was a signal of intent from Toluca that they wanted to compete with the big boys, and he's been awesome. But then the real story is Alexis Vega, because this is a guy who like 7-8 years ago was supposed to be a big part of the future of Mexican soccer, and he ended up making a move to Chivas, and they wasted him, right? As they so often do. They just were not able to get him into spots where he could be the best version of himself. And he ended up at Toluca a couple years ago. And he was arguably the best player in the entire league this year. And it's just another story of a talented guy needing to find the right team and the right fit. And it, honestly, Brad, it reminds me of quotes that I heard you give back in 2014 in your first full season here about how playing for the Red Bulls gave you a chance to really kind of play your best role and kind of own a role on a team where like you hadn't really gotten that before in your career.
No, 100%. And it's good to see him doing well at Toluca. Listen, as a player, you always know inside what you're capable of. And sometimes you don't always have that platform. You don't always have the trust from a coach. You're not getting enough minutes. And, the easy thing to say is, just work hard, get in the team. But sometimes it just isn't your story at that time. And timing is a big thing, and it was for me. And then when you find that club, when you find that coach that really understands how you like to play, what makes you tick, you can really go on to do some amazing things. And he's done just that. I'm excited to see him, in the All-Stars and some of the other players they got in there. Henry Martinez, another one that I don't get to watch weekly, but whenever I see him, in there like All-Stars or Leagues Cup, he's a brilliant striker. It's exciting times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And remember, there'll be so much MLS All-Star festivities. You've got the Skills Challenge, the All-Star Game, and so much more. That coming in the middle of July, and it'll be all over MLS Season Pass. So be sure to check that out. But before that, there have been a lot of good people in the comments. So do you guys have a few minutes to answer some questions?
Let's go. This is my favorite part.
That's the best. Marcos wants to know, Bradley Wright Phillips, who's your dark horse in the Club World Cup?
Mark, I tried to ignore this. I saw it and I'm just like, I didn't. I was like, I hope we don't read that out. Dark horse is a tough one. Can I just be boring and tell you PSG are just going to win it? Like, they're just actually going to win it. They're too good. Just watching them the other day against Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid are the top side. Brush them off easy.
It's so true, PSG. It's like you didn't know how they'd approach this tournament, and like they came to play. And I don't know where they were training this week, but I saw Luis Enrique walking around barefoot, basically in tidy whities during training. Did anyone else see that?
Aura. What did the kids say? Aura. That's what Luis
Enrique
said.
Say aura. Doyle, because you love things like a dark horse. Who you got for Club World Cup? Give me something spicy. I saw the name LAFC floating around the internet a little bit yesterday.
LAFC will not win the Club World Cup. Like I think it'll be either PSG or Real Madrid. Real Madrid are really going for it because they want to start off well with Xabi Alonso. But if I'm going to pick a non-UEFA team, Flamengo's been unbelievable this year in Brazil, like running away with it, just in terms of how they've been able to play and how they've been able to execute. And we've seen it so far, how seriously the CONMEBOL teams take this tournament. They're not afraid. They want to leave a mark. It would be a massive upset. No CONMEBOL team has won the Club World Cup since 2012. And that was the only time it's happened in the past 20 years. Like it would take something epic for it to happen. But this team's legit, man. Watch out for Flamengo, because as good as Palmeiras and as good as Botafogo are, Flamengo are better.
Brad, this question's made for you because I love watching you work, because you're very silent in the meetings, and then you always bring it when we're on the air. So Cole Bassett's left foot.
Yeah. I saw that.
Hilarious name.
I love that name.
I'm curious about the preparation that you go through for MLS 360. Take me inside the preparation that is for Bradley Wright Phillips.
Cole Bassett's left foot. I do not want to do this to your mind, my friend. It's it's a lot of conversations. It's a lot of prep. But I'll be honest, how I make it easy for myself, because I'm more visual. I try to watch as many highlights as I can. I'll listen to people like Doyle, Jill, whatever they have to say during the week, see if I can find points to argue with, see if I agree with it. Also, just listening to what, Sasha, Dax, Kaylin, Kev, what they're saying. I'm better at reacting to conversations. So, during the week, I'm watching a lot, reading a lot of things, but I'm trying to watch videos. I'm trying to watch my old videos, what I've said before. But a lot of prep goes in. 360 is very difficult. A lot of games in the space of 6 hours sometimes, and it's hard. But yeah, the prep is just honestly just watching. If you love football like me, I think you could probably do the same as me. I don't think I'm doing anything special, but it's tough.
Oh, we don't either, Brad.
You don't watch what I say around you.
But I'll just say to Cole Bassett's left foot, who I never thought I'd be talking to, is I love watching you, Brad, really at work. And I mean that. Like, I was always a fan of you when I talked to you when you were playing, but the way that you approach this newish job of yours, it's so earnest and it's so honest. Like, yeah, you're going to take in all this stuff, but at the end of the day, you played the game and you're the 2-time Golden Boot winner in MLS, and you bring an experience that nobody else has. And you have a set of eyeballs that nobody else has. And I just kind of love watching you sit back and then you're ready to go, but you need to watch the game and that you can't prepare for. And that's what, having someone of your caliber just makes it really so special to work alongside you.
Oh, I appreciate you, Jill. Thank you.
No, and
Matt,
I mean that.
Matt, you're next.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That was weird. Something went down the wrong pipe.
Hey, Matt just fell asleep. While you were talking, he just fell asleep. What? I cannot be asked hearing about Bradley anymore. Thank you, Jill.
I want to give one person a little bit of love, because this is not a team that we have talked about in a few weeks. I think somebody had the question about, please tell me why DC United can make the playoffs. Doyle, I'm giving that one to you.
Yeah,
I'm going to give it to Brad. Brad, you're a genius. I love watching you prep. I love watching you work. You said you had 6 hours of prep to answer this one question, buddy. All you.
I'm going to give it back to you, because you're the expert.
You
know what? I will jump in after.
This is
jump in after. This is how Vancouver play.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, boy.
I don't think that DC United can make the playoffs.
No.
Okay.
I don't think they can. And you know what I'll do? I don't think they've given Troy Lesane enough, of backing to get it done. When you look at DC United, let's be honest, it's Ben Teke and then the rest, and
it
isn't fair on the coach, and they haven't given them enough chance, to get themselves into even a playoff conversation.
And the most disappointing thing is, like, that's a really productive region for young soccer players.
Of course.
And there was a moment there where it looked like they had sort of opened up the pipeline from the academy to the first team, and they were going to be like Philly or like RSL or something like that. And it's kind of snapped back shut, and it's tough. It's disappointing, and it's left them in limbo. Lucky for DC fans, you got the Washington Spirit playing, I think, the best ball in NWSL right there in the same stadium. So get out to one of those games, because that's a great team.
And do you know what I'll end with? And you're right, Matt. Do you know what I will end with? It's a shame for me that the ambition from the club hasn't been great, because when I got here, DC was my biggest rival. I was taught to hate this team. I was taught to respect them, but hate this team, because if you go there and you're not at it, you're going to lose that game. And now I'm not seeing that from DC, and it's sad for me. Being a neutral now, it's sad.
And I feel for Christian Benteke as well. I mean, we're talking about a previous Golden Boot winner, and it's that he should be celebrated in this league. But when you're playing on a team that is sitting in 12th place in the Eastern Conference, there's only so much you can do in talking about Christian Benteke. And if he had, a little bit more oomph around him, he would be talking about him. We would be talking about him in a way more that we really should. But that does it for our show today. Believe it or not, it's been the full hour, Bradley. We have to wrap this thing up, no matter what you say. But before we go, I just got to say, Doyle, there is nobody with the wealth of knowledge that you have worked
stop.
for, my friend, when it comes
Facts.
to this. Well, you made me feel bad when I went on my
Facts.
Brad.
You're giving him
Brad
enough compliments.
monologue.
He's been getting it for years. I'm new to this.
No, he doesn't.
You got to keep lying to me, building me up. This is what I need until I actually get to Doyle's level.
It's an
All right.
honor. It's an honor working with both of you. How about that?
All righty.
go.
Before everybody vomits, we will wrap this thing up and say goodbye on this very special Tuesday edition of This is MLS, and we will see you again on Friday when only like 9,000 games have been played between then and now. We'll see you then.
See you later, guys.
Look at Jill making us blush.